Welcome back, guys, and now we're going to talk about, so we've covered a lot of lead guitar, but obviously George Benson doesn't only play lead guitar. All good guitarists should also be able to play rhythm guitar. That's very, very important. Obviously, within a jazz style, you kind of need to know your way around a little bit of theory as well, which I'm going to talk about now. So I've got this chord progression. I'm just going to run it very quickly once. So start with a B flat dominant 7. To an E minor 7 flat 5, otherwise known as an E half diminished, an E flat major 7, and then we finally have an A flat 13, or you can play a dominant 7, it's the same thing. I'll go into a bit more detail in a second. For the instance of this, I'm going to play a 13. So altogether we have so the basis of this chord progression from a theory perspective is I like to think of it as being kind of in a B flat mixolydian key. So the mixolydian mode is basically just like a major scale but with the 7th flattened. So what I mean by that is obviously a regular major scale sounds like this. Okay, but with mixolydian mode we actually flatten that note there, so we have like that. Okay, it starts to sound really cool and kind of bluesy and country-esque, but obviously very jazzy as well, which is what we're going to be using it for today. So we've got the first chord there. So bear in mind the mixolydian mode is the 5th mode of the major scale. And as you hopefully know, if you're building chords in a major scale, the 5th chord, which is this one that we're starting from here, is always going to be a dominant 7th chord. Okay, so that's why that B flat there is going to be dominant 7. Okay, so diatonically speaking, if I was going to play this progression, let's ignore the E minor 7 flat 5 for a second, and I'm just going to talk about those three. Okay, so if I was going to play this diatonically, and by diatonic I mean remain strictly within the key and within the kind of constraints of a key, then if I was going to do that, the progression would be B dominant 7, E flat major 7, and then A flat major 7, as opposed to a dominant 7, which is what I was playing earlier. The reason behind that is because if we now think of, right, what's the parent key, okay, of B flat mixolydian? So remember I said it's the 5th mode. So all we would need to do is move down an interval of a 5th from a B flat. So that would be, I've got a B flat here, so if I know that that's a 5th there. Okay, so this note here is the parent key. So that would what we would play our major scale from. That is an E flat. So that would mean, so that's our kind of parent key for this, you know, the B flat mixolydian mode. And within kind of a major scale, the 4 chord, which is going to be, see, it's that's an A flat, okay, which is what we just had in that in the mixolydian chord progression. The 4 chord is always going to be considered to be a major 7 chord, okay, which is why I said that's what would be diatonic. So diatonically, as I said, we're thinking in major scale senses now. So we say, right, starts on the 5 chord technically, so that would be a dominant 7. Then we're onto the 1 chord, which is a major 7. The 4 chord is also a major 7. So what we're doing, we're actually cheating a little bit. Well, I say not cheating, we're kind of throwing the rule book out the window a little bit, and we're saying, right, we're going to move into non-diatonic territory here. So because I want to create a little bit more kind of a bit more tension and a bit more pull back to my 1 chord in my progression, which as we established is the B flat dominant 7, I'm going to change that A flat major 7 into a dominant 7. So all I'm doing there, the reason why this doesn't sound really, really jarring and kind of ugly is because of the fact that we're not actually changing the chord type, meaning we're not changing it from like a major to a minor type chord. It's simply going from a major 7 to a dominant 7, and a dominant 7 is still a major type chord because it's got that major 3rd within it. All that we're changing is that 7th, which is there as a natural 7th, we're flattening it, sorry, to change it into a dominant 7. And then the thinking behind it being a 13 is just we're adding that note on top, so it transforms it to a 13 chord. But that kind of covers the whole progression. There's one other little pointer. That half diminished chord is basically just acting as a kind of nice little lead-in to that E flat major 7. So as you can hear, that root note is just a semitone up there from that one there, but the rest of the chord remains the same. So these 3 notes here stay exactly the same. All that changes is you go like that, and you get that real nice, you know, smooth movement there. Okay, that just about covers the theory, guys. So in the next couple of videos, I'm going to talk about each of the chords in a little bit more detail and kind of what voicings they are and kind of what notes make them up and things like that. So see you on the next video.